everyone, and my name is Eula, and today we're gonna read the one and only Ivan story, starting at a big chapter, and we should start reading at this chapter, and Deanna reading a crying chapter for today. Now, I already read this one, but with a lot of stories. Now here we go. And first, we should read the one and only Ivan story, and we should start reading at a big chapter. Stella's fist hurts too much for her to do any of her tricks for 2 o'clock show. Instead, Mac pulls her limping into the ring, where she tracks a circle in the sawdust. Ruby clings to her like a shadow. Ruby's eyes go wide when Snickers jumps on Stella's back, then leaps onto her head. At 4 o'clock show, Stella can only get as far as the entrance to the ring. Ruby refused to leave her side. At 7 o'clock show, Stella stays in her domain. When Mac comes for Ruby, Stella whispers something in her ear. Ruby looks at her pleadingly, but after a moment she follows Mac to the ring. Ruby stands alone. A bright light makes her blink. She flaps her ears. She makes a tiny trumpet sound. The humans stop eating their popcorn. They coo. They clap. Ruby is a hit. I don't know whenever to be happy or sad. Next chapter, worry. When Julia arrives after the show, she brings 3 thick books, 1 pencil, and something she calls magic markers. Here, Ivan, she says, and she slides 2 magic markers with a piece of paper into my domain. I like the sundown colors, red and purple, but I don't feel like coloring. I'm worried about Stella. All evening she been quiet and she hasn't eaten a bit of her dinner. Julia follows my gaze. Where is Stella anyway? She asks, and she goes to Stella's gate. Ruby extends her trunk and Julia pats it. Hi, baby, she says. Is Stella alright? Stella is lying in a pile of dirty hay. Her breath is wrecked. Dad, Julia calls. Could you come here a minute? George gets inside his mop. Do you think she's okay, Dad? Julia says. Look at the way she's breathing. Can we call Mac? I think there's something really wrong. He must know her. George rubbed his chin. He always knows, but a bed costs money, Jules. Please, Julia, eyes are wet. Call him, Dad. George gazes at Stella. Put his hands on his hips and sighs. He calls Mac. I can't hear of his words, but I can see George's lips tighten into a green line. Girl expressions and human expressions are a lot alike. Mac says the better's coming in the morning if Stella is not any better, he tells Julia. He says he's not going to let her die on him, not after all the money he puts into her. George strokes Julia's hair. She'll be alright. She's a top old girl. Julia sits by Stella's domain until it's time to go home. She doesn't do her homework. She doesn't even draw. My domain gleams with the moonlight when I awake to sound of Stella's calls. Ivan, Stella says in the hoarse whisper. Ivan? I'm here, Stella. I sit up awkwardly and Bob topples off my stomach. I run to a window. I can see Ruby next to Stella sleeping soundly. Ivan, I want to promise me something. I want you to promise me something, Stella says. Anything, I say. I've never asked for a promise before because promises are forever and usually a long time, especially when you're in a cage. Domain, I correct. Domain, she agrees. I straight into my full heat. I promise, Stella. I say in a voice like my father's. But you haven't even heard I'm asking yet, she says, and she closed her eyes for a moment. Her grave chest shoulders. I promise anyway. Stella doesn't say anything for a long time. Never mind, she says. I don't know what I was thinking. The pain is making me edit. Ruby stirs. Her trunk moves as if she's reaching for something that isn't there. When I say the words, they surprise me. You want me to take care of Ruby? Stella nods. A small gestures that makes her wince. If she could have a life that's different from mine, she needs a safe place, but not here, I say. It would be easier to promise to stop eating, to stop breathing, to stop being a gorilla. I promise, Stella, I say. I promise it on my word as a silverback. Next chapter, knowing. Before Mac, before Bob, and before Ruby, I know that Stella is gone. I know it the way you know that summer is over and the winter on its way. I just know. Stella once teased me that elephants are superior because they feel more joy and more grief than apes. Your gorilla hearts are made of ice, Ivan, she say. Her eyes are glittering. Ours are made of fire. Right now, I'll give all the yogurt raisins and all the word for a heart made of ice. 5 men. Bob hurried from a race, a reliable sword, and they tossed Stella's body into the garbage truck. It took 5 men and forklift. Next chapter, comfort. All day I tried to comfort Ruby, but what can I say? That Stella has a good and happy life. That she lived as she was meant to live. Then she died with those who loved her most nearby. Alas, the last is true. Crying. Julia cries all evening while her father sweeps and mops and dusts and cleans the toilets. When George sees Mac, he runs to him. I can only hear a few of his words. Vet should have wrong. Mac shrugs. His shoulders drop. He lips without a word. Then George wipes her fingerprints on my glass. His cheeks are wet. He doesn't mean my eyes. Oh, I think Stella have gone somewhere or dead. So we should see the one and only Ivan chapter and the end of reading at some kind of chapter for tomorrow again. So today's story was about the Stella is dead and gone. So I think everybody in the circus, so exit A Top Mall circus animal is crying and Julia and George is crying. And Mac too? Maybe. So let's see this no Stella story for tomorrow. Stella is dead so there are gonna be some change into the circus. So let's see this no elephant, one elephant story for tomorrow. So now there is only one elephant, Ruby. So let's see the story for tomorrow, and please thumbs up my YouTube, and plus we're gonna read from the one and only Ivan chapter for tomorrow again. So we should the end of reading at maybe Mud Story or a Perfect Life Story or a Vine Story for tomorrow. So please thumbs up my YouTube if you didn't thumbs up my YouTube before looking at my YouTube, and please thumbs up my and bye everyone. Bye.